All right, my deepfake has finished rendering. Let's switch accounts to Mental Outlaw. And there we go. Time to repost some more Luke Smith content. Telegram, Signal, and WhatsApp. These are probably the three most popular private, secure messaging applications, but there's a flaw that all three of them share, and there's also flaws that they each individually have. Like WhatsApp, for example, that's a proprietary application, so you shouldn't be using it. There's no way for you to know for sure what it's doing, even if it claims to be end-to-end encrypted, but we can probably guess what it's doing because it's owned by Facebook, and what is Facebook's business model? It's selling your data. So there you go. WhatsApp is used to harvest and then sell your data to make Facebook more money. But all three of these apps require a phone number for you to register some type of an account with them. So obviously they must all be bad, right? These are probably all, Telegram and Signal are probably CIA honeypots that are designed to more closely monitor its users. And anybody who recommends using them is obviously a Fed, right? Well, it's important to understand why phone number registrations are a problem, these specific issues with them, so that we can mitigate that issue and take some power away from the surveillance state. So your phone number is probably associated with some personal identifiable information, or PI, as I'm going to call it for the rest of this video. So your phone bill, it probably has your real legal first and last name on it. It might even get mailed to your address where you lay your head at night, and then you probably pay that phone bill with some type of a credit or debit card, which has even more PI associated with it because you had to give financial details to open up that credit or debit card. Because all the PI is associated with a phone number, it's obviously able to figure out who a phone number belongs to. But what if I told you that you could set up a phone number and cell phone service in a totally anonymous way without giving up any of your PI, and you have a number of options for how to do it? So there's the classic pay-as-you-go phones, right? The burner phones. These are the really cheap phones that you'll usually see sold in convenience stores. They usually come with a SIM card in them already. But sometimes you can buy these SIM cards separately and then use them with whatever phone that you want. So pay-as-you-go basically means that you're paying for, well, back in the day it used to be minutes. So you would pay for like 2,000 minutes and then load that onto a cell phone. But these days it's data. So you basically pay by the gigabyte of data that you're going to use, which is actually an advantage for us. It might save us a whole lot of money because with all of these apps, Telegram and Signal, you don't actually have to use LTE data. You can send all of your messages and receive those messages over Wi-Fi. All we really need to get is the phone number. So this might actually end up saving you some money compared to a regular LTE plan. Now, let's say that you do use several gigs of LTE data every single month. At some point, the cost of doing pay-as-you-go is going to actually end up being more expensive than just getting like a normal account with Verizon or with T-Mobile or whatever. It's going to vary. You got to do your research, but probably around 4 gigs a month, you should start looking at real cell phone plans. Now, you can get these, I guess we'll call them normie cell phone plans in an anonymous way as well. So you don't have to use your real address when you sign up for a cell phone service. You might technically have to give your real name, but it's not like they ask for ID or anything when you sign up for a cell phone plan. At least here in the United States, that's not how it works. And you can pay for your cell phone bill in cash. In fact, this is pretty much how homeless people use their cell phones. So a lot of them are doing the regular cell phone service because, like I said, once you go over 4 gigs, pay-as-you-go actually ends up being more expensive. Homeless people obviously don't have an address. That's why they're homeless. And they usually don't have bank accounts either. They're paying for everything in cash. That's how they're getting their money through begging or maybe doing odd jobs or whatever. So homeless people, they will just go to Metro PCS or whatever cell phone store every month. Give the employees $40. Like, the employees are used to people coming in and paying their bills with them. They give them $40 in cash, and boom, their cell phone service is renewed for another month. And you can do the same exact thing. Now, I know what you might be thinking. isn't going to a physical place in person, you know, in paying for a cell phone bill, isn't that bad OPSEC? Well, you know, a lot of the time these stores are in malls, so there's cameras all around, and yeah, they might be able to record your face, and then maybe some security person is going to look at it and identify you. But there's a solution to those too, because right now we are in a pandemic. Pretty much everywhere, you're still being required to wear masks when you go to public places. Well, I guess it depends on what state you're in. In Massachusetts, pretty much private businesses all require you to wear a mask, at least at some point when you go into them. You know, it's a requirement that the government is giving us. Now, regardless of how you feel about the pandemic or anything like that, you know, myself personally, I'm not really worried about getting Rona, but we can use all of this masking requirement to our advantage to defeat any facial recognition that cameras might have. Now, again, I wouldn't really recommend using this because this is, I guess, for people that are actually afraid of Rona. But what I would use instead is just something like this. So bandana that covers more of your face. So I could just go into a cell phone store like this and maybe add some sunglasses as well, because your eyes are actually easier for facial recognition to figure out who you are. So boom, I could just go into a cell phone store like this, and once the employees figure out that I'm not there to rob them, they'll probably help me out, and then I can go about setting up a cell phone account under the name John Smith at 123 Main Street. Now, there's another cool thing you can do to sort of improve your OPSEC, which is you don't actually have to go to these cell phone stores every single month to pay your bill. Usually they will allow you to put some type of credit, like several months of credit, onto the bill. So, you know, let's say maybe you're gonna pay, I don't know, $60 a month for your phone bill. You can just go there with like $200 and boom, you've got 3 months, you've got an entire quarter of anonymous cell phone service. You don't have to go back to the store. You can also send people to pay your bill for you, right? So Verizon, AT&T, whoever, they don't care who's paying your bill. They just want to get the money. So send a friend, send somebody else in to pay the bill for you. This is literally what drug dealers do. Like they all, you know, set up their cell phone bills these ways and they pay them these ways. And these are people that the feds are actually spending billions of dollars to try and track and arrest. They're much bigger fish, you know, compared to you or me. So there you go. That's pretty much how you can get an anonymous phone number, an anonymous SIM card, and the anonymous cell phone service. Now, there's more steps that you have to take to improve your OPSEC. Like cell phones themselves, they usually end up getting either their serial numbers or their IMEI scanned when they get sold to you by the vendor. So you want to make sure you're paying with that in cash and, you know, make sure that PII isn't attached to the cell phone itself. I might end up doing a video at some point to just show you guys the full steps, like go over all the little details about how to set up anonymous cell phone service. But now that you have that anonymous phone number, which of these apps are you going to register with and create an account? Signal is the one that I would recommend if OPSEC is what's most important to you. So Signal is open source, and the devs are really good at actually releasing the source code to Signal. It's end-to-end encrypted, and I believe everything in Signal is end-to-end encrypted by default, whether it's calls, group chats, text. In fact, the only way I can even think of to use Signal in a non-encrypted way is just to try and text somebody who's not using Signal, and then it's going to default to SMS, but there's really no other way around that. Now, Telegram, there's a couple of problems that Telegram has. Okay, so the one that probably bothers me the most is their encryption. So for whatever reason, the Telegram devs decided to roll their own encryption. If you compare this to Signal, Signal's using, I think it's just called the Signal protocol, or maybe it's the Whisper protocol, which is kind of an industry standard. Like there's other apps that use that as well, but Telegram, they're like, nah, we're gonna roll our own encryption, which is that's special. But what's even worse is that this end-to-end encryption isn't even used in like 90% of Telegram. So the group chats on Telegram are not end-to-end encrypted. They are only encrypted to the cloud. Same thing with individual chats that you have with people. The only ones that are end-to-end encrypted are secret chats, and those can only be like one-on-one chats with you and some other person, and this isn't even the default option for messaging another person. So yeah, Telegram's defaults are really, really crappy. Now it is also open source, but there's been a couple of instances where the devs will push out a new version of Telegram that everybody is using, but they don't publish the source code for it until many, many weeks later. So that's a little bit weird and kind of funny. So definitely I would rank Telegram lower than Signal for OPSEC, but this doesn't mean that Telegram is useless. So way more people are using Telegram, and my favorite feature that Telegram has is probably their group chats. So almost every like Linux community that I've seen and different like privacy communities, crypto communities especially, will have Telegram group chats. So if you're interested in those subjects, it might be a good idea for you to join one of them. And at the very least, lurk. I mean, if you're not posting anything yourself, then there's not really a whole lot of information that people can get from you there. You can lurk to gather the information. You can even use Telegram and Signal over Tor. So if you're extra paranoid, like you don't even want people on Telegram to grab your IP, just use it over Tor, and then you should be good. Now, maybe you are thinking, okay, I still don't trust giving any of these my phone numbers. I want to know what doesn't require phone numbers at all. There's a couple of options, but I will warn you, they're even more obscure than Telegram and Signal. So if your whole point of trying to do this is to talk to, I guess, normal people, like maybe your parents aren't really into all this privacy and security stuff, it's going to be really difficult for you to get them to use any of these apps I'm going to go over. But there's XMPP, which is actually a protocol. So XMPP, you can set up your own servers for it. So you don't have to worry about some third party trying to get your data. You're actually in control of the data the entire time. So as long as you set up the server correctly and make sure that it's secure and everything like that, then you're good to go. As far as apps that don't really require any additional configuration, there's Yammy, there's Briar, and there's Session. Those are probably the three best ones that I know of that don't require phone registration and are available in most app stores. Maybe not the Apple App Store, but they're available in Android app stores. Yammy is a peer-to-peer messaging application. It actually does have a pretty decent amount of features. There's some drawbacks to it. Like I've heard that it uses a lot of battery life, and even in my own use cases, it kind of uses a lot because you got to keep the app open to receive messages. But Yammy is also free software, so that's another bonus point for Yammy. Now, Briar and Session, the cool thing about these apps is they actually route your data. And when I say route your data, I don't mean that they're like mining additional data. I mean messages, like stuff you're actually sending through them. They route that stuff through Tor in the case of Briar and through LokiNet in the case of Session. So those are both mixed nets that can help to improve your anonymity. So those are pretty cool too, but they have very, very limited features. Both of them really limit the size of files that you can transfer. Like Session, for example, I think you're capped at about 5 megabyte files. So you can't really send video. You can't even send images a lot of the time. Like if it's a 4K image, it might end up going over. So again, these are really going to suck if you're trying to communicate with normal people. Like normie apps, they tend to have a whole lot of features in them. But yeah, there you go. Now you have the information, and now you know how to really optimize your privacy, because the whole point is that you want to protect your Pi. So if you do that at all costs, don't give anybody your personal identifiable information, then the app that you choose to communicate with really just ends up being a minor detail.